We get a good view of her. You probably want to sit around this way. Okay. I see a lot of new faces today. I want to say probably more than half the room is new here. Raise your hand if it's your first time here.
Yes.
Yeah. Wow, welcome. Okay, I think that's definitely more than half the room. Raise your hand if you're already in tech. Okay. If you're transitioning into tech. Okay. Anyone in product design? No? What if you want to know about product design?
Yes.
Everyone's hands should be up. That's what today's topic is about. Okay, so for those of you that don't know, my name is Anna Yancy. I am head of marketing at The Source, and The Source is the one that powers all of this. So this is called Tech Tuesdays. We are here every Tuesday, every single Tuesday. Here, right at this one. So someone said consistently, yes. You're like, wow, that's a lot of work. Yes, it is. We're here. So 6 p.m. So with that being said, what is Tech Tuesdays? We like to say we are where community meets tech, and no matter where you are in your tech journey, you are welcome here. The reason for that is because whether you are a founder, whether you're transitioning into tech, whether you're already in tech and you want to develop your career, this is the spot for you. Because you might need, if you're someone transitioning into tech, you might stumble upon something new or a new career that you didn't know about that you can probably enter to because you have transferable skills. If you're a founder, you might need someone that is a coder or developer who could be the next person on your project. And if you are also a founder, you might need your best investor here. If you're an investor, you might need the next company you want to invest in. So we really like to say, no matter where you are in your tech journey, you are welcome here. That is what the Tech Tuesday is about. Now, we are powered by The Source. And The Source, I like to think of it as our umbrella company. The Source is the one that helps small businesses and entrepreneurs with mentoring, with funding, with ideation stage, with investing, all of that. And that is our offices in downtown. And we really like to say that it's kind of like that parent that just provides you with everything that you need when you come to them. One of the things that The Source is bringing to Miami is a 1 million pitch competition for startups. We just closed our application round and we are announcing very, very soon the top 60 startups. We will be having a demo day in August, open to the public by the way, where the public can come and see those top 60 startups, get a feel for what Miami Tech is. And the whole point of it is to really to put Miami Tech and Miami Tech startups on a global scale. The Miami regional winner will go to San Francisco for the chance to compete $1 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
And because we are just not someone that just talks and talks, we also walk the walk. We have Tech Knowledge, which is our non-profit organization. So Tech Knowledge is really meant for those of us that are new into tech, don't really know where to start. So we offer them with the education of where to start and enter into a tech career. What that looks like at this moment is that we have our tech sales cohort, which is starting this week. I know a lot of us, or some of us in the crowd, are already signed up for it. And what that tech sales cohort does is that you go through our program with us, and by the end of it, you come out certified with a tech sales certification. And then we help you get placed into a tech sales role. We have a couple of alumni here today. I know Brittany's somewhere in here. She's our Tech Tuesday ambassador. I don't know where she's at right now. But she graduated from tech sales, recently landed a job with a company as well. And we have Desiree, who I'm not sure is in the crowd today, who also is now working at Kaseya, and a bunch of other alumni. Next week, actually, we're having a full panel about tech knowledge and more about the organization and what they do. So if you guys want to know more, definitely come out next week. And as always, you join our WhatsApp for any information. So that's the whole spiel about all three companies. It's a heavy lift because there are three companies, so I always like to explain it all. Today, we are going to have Jaimaila Holder. She is a product innovator, trusted advisor, and business coach who enthusiastically guides founders to execute their entrepreneur vision by building memorable products. Her 18 years of experience serves as the foundation for insights on the product ideation, user experience, development, launch, and sales cycle for startups. Jaimaila has been recognized by the Product School, a leading organization of product management, as a top PM voice, and has also guest lectured a PM course at Columbia Business School. She is here to show you guys her entire process and framework from taking a product from ideation all the way to creation. So without further ado, please give it up for her.
Hi everyone. All right. Hello. Happy Tuesday, everyone. My name is Jaimaila Holder, and as Anna mentioned, I am a product manager turned product advisor. And so you might be thinking, like, what does that actually mean? So I've worked in tech for the last 10 years, primarily in product management, not only building consumer experiences, but enterprise experiences. I've worked for SAP, I've worked at Vanguard, I've worked at LinkedIn. And in my last role at LinkedIn, I got to put both of my passions together. One is product management. I'm a natural problem solver. And so when someone tells me something that is a problem for them, I'm always thinking about what a solution could be. And so working in product management has been the best way for me to take my problem-solving skills and my strategic skills and start to put them to good use in terms of building technical solutions. The other part of the work that I love is also learning. So my last role at LinkedIn was in LinkedIn Learning, working with instructors on the instructor strategy, getting more courses published on LinkedIn Learning, while also helping these instructors to quantify and measure how many people were taking their courses. The reason why I have a passion around learning is because with just a little bit of time and with a little bit of effort, anyone here can learn a new skill that might unlock doors, whether they are professional doors for you and you're able to use this new skill set that you're learning to then transition possibly into tech or into some other skill set or area. And so now as a product advisor, I get to do both of these things together. I use my years of experience as a product manager to advise early stage startups when they are building their products. And I also coach early stage founders to not only understand and learn product management fundamentals, but apply them to their business. I have a workshop that is a group workshop for early stage founders to learn the product management fundamentals, how to apply all of these learnings to their business, and then ultimately drive product success. And so the reason why I'm super excited to be with you guys today is because everyone here, we are going to build a product together. I know, right? So I hope you guys brought your ideas because ultimately, one of you hopefully has an idea, a problem that you'd like to solve that we will all be able to not only understand and work through together, but I'm going to show you a framework around the things that you should consider when you're in this earlier stage of trying to figure out how to solve someone else's problem, identify a user persona, and ultimately start to ideate and figure out what you should actually be building. It's not working. Okay. Cool. So I did the bio already. A lot of fun, a lot of product stuff. But the thing that I'd probably think about, and I want you guys to think about, is when you're a founder, you are also a product owner. You're a product owner by default. It's still that way. Okay. So you're a product owner by default. So a founder starts their own tech company, and ultimately, because you're a founder, you own the entire product experience. You own the entire user journey. And so let me ask you guys this. How many founders do I have in the room today? All right, I got a good number. I love it. Do you consider yourself to be a product owner because you are a founder?
Yes.
Okay. And so when you think about what it means to be a product owner, it means that you own the product, you own the end-to-end delivery. You start at the ideate stage, you kind of have an idea of something you want to build, you start to figure it out, and then you start to get down into how you're going to implement a solution, who you're going to work with to actually build this tech product. And so for today's session, I'm going to take you through that entire journey. So the role itself is pretty important, but ultimately understanding and applying product management principles is helpful to founders because it saves you time, money, helps you to optimize resources, and ultimately it should help you to reduce any sort of frustration that you have. Oftentimes when I meet early stage founders, they are a bit exhausted, and rightfully so. You're a founder, that means that you are the person that's on the sales side of things. You're expected to build a product. If you're looking for investors, you're expected to raise a round. And you have a lot of competing priorities, and that can be a bit exhausting. But if you understand what product management is and how some of the fundamentals and principles can actually help you in your business, you'll be able to prioritize better, which will help to save you time. You'll be able to ensure that you're working not only collaboratively, but also efficiently with your engineering team, with your designers, and any other cross-functional people you hire to ensure that you're also saving yourself money. Oftentimes the frustration comes from delays. You might be thinking, have I hired the right engineering team? There's always so many delays. Why aren't they getting this right? I told them what I wanted to build. Why doesn't it look like what I told them I wanted? And so a lot of times that frustration comes because you're kind of learning the ropes of product management while you're building the actual product itself. So what we're going to do today is really just talk through what those steps can look like so that you have a better understanding for things to consider as you're building. So I have a couple of questions for this audience. And one of the things that I'd love to hear from you guys is, does anyone have any ideas, problems that they think are worth solving that they'd like to share today? Please have an idea. Yes. If you can stand up.
Okay.
And is there someone that can run him a mic? Okay. I'll give you mine.
Yeah, so one of the problems I'm initially solving, I love to solo travel, and so I would love to try to help connect solo travelers when they're abroad. So that's something I'm interested in solving.
Okay, cool. How many of you guys like to solo travel here? I know I do. All right, so a good number of the group likes to solo travel. So who do you consider your user to be? Who's your user persona? And a user persona is really your description of your ideal user that would use the product that you want to build.
So probably someone who, is 25 to 45 years old, male, female, and probably has, higher net worth, not someone that's early in the career, I guess I would say. Anything else you think would be good to know?
So what might be good to know is like, true. So Ariana said salary. So you want to know how much money they earn. What also might be good to know is how often they do solo travel. Are they just kind of like once every couple years, or are they the type of solo traveler that's doing it a couple times a year? And then also the types of destinations that they want to go to. Because ultimately you want to connect them with other people that are in the same place doing solo travel as well. And so you kind of need people in different places that go there regularly to be able to connect people.
Love all of that.
Awesome. Thank you. And what's your name?
I'm David.
All right. Thank you so much, David. And I see we have another idea here. And if you can...
Well, no, it's just a follow through.
Oh, okay.
There's actually another user for your product. You want, or in my opinion, it's not my product. Businesses or local hotels, hostels, whatever it is, I think that's another user that you can use to incorporate these groups of people. Give meetup spots like this, or stuff like that.
Very true. And so I think when I say user for the purposes of this exercise, what I would be looking for is the ideal main person that needs to use the product, but then you have all of these ancillary people as well, right? And so I like what you said about hotels, restaurants, because that could be a potential secondary user to your product that could possibly drive revenue one way or another. So we haven't gotten down to like the revenue part of things as well, but there is a community aspect of things where you have the main user that would actually use the app that wants to be connected to other people that are traveling as well, and then you have the places where they're going to actually meet. So thank you for that addition. All right, so I think we have our idea that we can probably start to go down the path of trying to figure out what and how to build. And David, and I'm going to put this down, or I'll give this to you really quickly. David, have you started executing any part of this idea yet? Have you done any research on any parts of this idea yet?
Yeah, a little bit.
Okay, what have you learned?
So I've learned that some of the top problems that people face as solo travelers, just in general, are number one, loneliness. So even though they like to solo travel, doesn't mean they like to solo travel alone.
Yeah.
Safety is also, I would say, top two or three. So learn that. What else would be good? That's kind of where I'm at right now. Oh, and I've also started designing the app just so I can go talk to customers more and learn more. One of my buddies gave me this book called, I think it's called something about like mom test. The mom test. And so I started a meetup group for solo travelers in Miami literally 2 days ago, and 30 people joined. So I'm like, all right, maybe I can talk to some of these people about some of their pain points and validate what I've been researching online.
Absolutely. So where is this community?
Where is the meetup?
Yeah, where's the meetup?
So it's at Tacombi Taco.
Oh,
every Saturday, 6 to 8. Sign up on meetup.
We gotta drop the links later, let the people know.
Enjoy. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So David over here is already doing quite a bit of the earliest stages of our life cycle of building a product, because not only has he identified a problem, and who wants to tell us what that problem is? Could someone else state what that problem is? Reframe it the way that David has shared it.
Safety.
Okay, so she says safety is a concern. Okay, but what is the core of what David is trying to solve?
You want to be a solo traveler, doesn't mean you want to be alone.
Yes.
You be able to make up the life.
Exactly. So you still want to travel and have some sort of community around you, even though you might be going to Thailand by yourself. Great, perfect. And so now we know a little bit more because of David about the user persona. We know that that individual is 25 to 40-ish or so. They enjoy solo travel, but they do have a couple of concerns, safety being one of them. And so they are used to traveling alone, but they want to be able to have and build a community around them so that they can possibly do other activities together, but still enjoy some alone time every so often as well. Great. So we've already started to define what our problem is, who our user persona is, and because David has already been thinking about some of this, he's put together a group, as he mentioned, on Meetup that meets at Tacombi to be able to help him validate his idea. So David, what questions are you asking the people that are coming to your meetup?
I'm trying not to even mention the product because that's jumping to the solution.
Exactly.
But more just trying to better understand, hey, what are the top problems that you face? How have you already tried to solve them? How much are you paying right now for those current solutions? And yeah, how if those solutions didn't exist right now, how much of a pain point would that be for you? So I can better understand, hey, is my potential solution, even worth it? Was it something that they would pay for, or are they happy paying, nothing for, just meet up and that kind of thing? So.
Perfect. that's exactly what I want to hear, right? Because now that he has his community that has 30 people in it, did you say?
Yeah.
And possibly growing, because here we are today. David is now thinking about the ways in which he's going to talk to some of these people to validate his ideas, right? And so he mentioned that he's wanting to frame the conversation and leave open-ended questions so that he's not telling people what to do or how he's going to solve the problem, but he is trying to get a better understanding as to how large the problem actually is and whether or not it's a large enough problem and pain point that people are actually going to pay for a solution. And that's ultimately all of the things that you should be doing at that early stage of ideation, which is, I have an idea. I feel like I have this one problem that I'd like to solve, and I don't want to come up with a solution just yet, but I do want to know, if I were to invest my time to try and solve this problem, is anyone actually going to care? Does anyone want this problem solved? So thank you, David. Enjoy going to. Perhaps it's Thailand, perhaps it's Jamaica, who knows? But where do they enjoy going? Because that's going to help you figure out like who you should be targeting. What are some of the other questions that you're going to want to figure out the answers to when you're doing market research?
Maybe how long they stayed typically and how much they paid for those trips.
Yes. So, and what's your name?
Selena.
Selena said that you're going to want to know how long they stay and how much they're paying. Now, that goes back to David's earlier point around, yes, we want 25 to 40-year-olds. We think that's our market, but we also want to know that they have the money to spend to travel, and you want to know how long they stay, how much they're paying, because then you can start to get an idea as to not only are they solo traveling, but they might actually want to invest in something that makes their travel experience easier. Yes. And so Justin said, why are they going there? Sorry, I didn't know. What's your name, Justin? Well, I know Justin. So Justin said that you're going to want to know why are they going there. So that's also another great question. Other market research that you'd also want to know is, in general, how many people solo travel per year? And that'll help you to understand what your total addressable market is. So you might hear this term called TAM, that means total addressable market. So you're really just thinking holistically of all the people that could have this problem, how many people are there? And then when you go down to, okay, there are, I don't know, 100,000 solo travelers per year, right? Globally. Then you might want to start to figure out, so from that global number of 100,000 people that solo travel a year, how many are coming to whatever region of the world, whether it's the US, whether it's Southeast Asia, whatever area you decide to focus on. So David, did you have any thoughts around, like, if you were to build some sort of solution, what sort of focus you'd want to have on this traveler's app in terms of location?
In terms of initially building it and which location to start out on?
Yeah.
So because I'm in Miami and a lot of people travel here, I was thinking about focusing on Miami.
Okay.
But I also have a business partner that's located in Prague, and so I think it'd be cool, really cool to understand. And Prague is a place that people go to quite a bit as well.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to understand the European market. So basically, Miami and Prague to start.
Okay, very good. And so thank you for that, because the one thing I will say is that as you're building a product, like David could easily say, I want to address this need globally right off the bat, right? That would be really difficult to do. You need to have a level of focus at the very, very beginning to be able to really validate the sort of idea that you have. And that focus comes by being very narrow at the very early stages and proving that this is a problem worth solving, and then being able to expand out. So when Airbnb started, they initially were started in San Francisco. They weren't even all across California. It was literally just in San Francisco. Would people like want to sleep on somebody else's couch? And they started with that market. primarily because there were a lot of conferences that would come into San Francisco, and they knew that there was some sort of market there, but they wanted to figure out how large of a market and a product they could make and see if it would actually become a bit popular. So what David's talking about of starting in Miami, starting in Prague is, hey, you first start small. So you do the market research on how many people come to Miami and solo travel, and then you start to figure out how large of a market you have, not only in Miami, but in other strategic locations where you might want to offer this app as well. Cool. So we have a couple things going here. We now know that we have our user persona that's 25 to 40. They travel alone, but they don't like being lonely, so they do want company. And we are going to focus primarily in Miami. So the next part is the part where I'd love for other people to start to help me understand what a solution could look like. And I am skipping a couple of different steps just because of the time constraints here. And so David, I'll let you start. It sounds like you've given this a lot more thought in terms of, you want it to be an app of some sort, right?
Yes, doesn't have to be.
Good. And I was hoping you were going to say that. So the reason why I was hoping David was going to say it doesn't have to be, app development is pretty expensive. And so, David, I'm assuming you're bootstrapping, right?
Yep.
All right. And so what happens when you're bootstrapping? You're using your own money to try and figure out and start to build something. And so if it weren't an app, what would the platform be?
As simple as a service where, I could create a spreadsheet where someone calls me up, says, hey, I'm in Miami, looking to connect with other people, and I gave someone else my number and, put them into a spreadsheet and say, oh, you guys are going to be in this 1 mile radius at the same time. Garrett, why don't you go meet up at this spot?
Yeah.
So that would be a super low lift service versus a $600,000 app.
That part, because yes, we need it to be simple. We need to be able to build it quickly because it's summer, right? So if you had a deadline you wanted to hit, doing an app development could not only take you a lot of time, it could also take you a lot of resources, engineering time, money that you may not want to spend. And so the easiest thing for you to do would be exactly what David said. Spreadsheet, website, service, something that gets it into the hands of potential users, but also allows for you as your product owner to constantly check in with some of the people that are using the service to then understand how they're using it and what are some of the things that you might actually want to build at a later date. So we've gone through a couple of areas now. We've done define, we've gone into ideate, we're generating a couple of solutions. I guess the last question I'll have for this group before we get into the next section would be around, do people find, well, maybe I'll ask it this way. I'll ask, are there other ways that you think we can accomplish building a solution of some sort for David and his users? So outside of the spreadsheet, are there other things we could do?
You definitely could do like a progressive format, which is what a lot of companies are doing these days. So it's like, it feels like a mobile experience, and you can even have it where it does look like it's an actual app download on the phone, and it just opens up in Chrome or Safari. So that's what I would definitely recommend for you, especially for expat travelers or solo travelers. Like the Wi-Fi may be slower in other countries, so having a PWA is like probably the best thing.
Thank you, Ariana. Yes, software engineer. Alrighty.
Over here.
My name's Kwame. One thing that I'm thinking of as you're talking about that, being on a budget, you could leverage social media, right? I know a couple folks who built brands off of Instagram and Twitter, using some of those algorithms to target their age group. And so they've been able to generate revenue just off of the following that they've amassed and kind of targeting that age group. So if budget is a challenge for you right now, you could focus on using that information to strategically build your social media platform, right? And then, I'm actually from the New York area, and so the young lady that I'm thinking of has done just that, right? She's used that algorithm to find different places, for instance, right, that people are interested in going. And then once she's got her 14,000 followers, now they've got paid partnerships, which generates revenue for them. And then you could still build that following, still speak to your demographic, and then it's just one idea.
Awesome. Thank you, Kwame. So now we have 3 ideas that can help David. One generated by David himself, another generated by Ariana, and another generated by Kwame. So ultimately, we're coming up with a bunch of solutions, and we're not married to any of these solutions. We may come up with something that's a hybrid. We may go with one only. We may do something else completely and entirely. But ultimately, what you want to do is to be able to have these sort of conversations where you are brainstorming not only with yourself, hopefully with friends, co-founders if you have one, around what are all the possibilities of the things that we could do to solve this problem. But ultimately, you want to get down to, if I were to solve this problem tomorrow, what's the easiest low-level lift sort of thing that I could do that gives my users an ability to solve the problem of not having to travel solo all the time and build a community. And so we won't get into, figuring out what the solution is actually going to be today, but what I will say is that when you've generated the solutions and you've started to think about all the different possibilities, then you get into the documentation aspect of being a product owner. And that's where you get to start having some fun writing some stuff. So you'll start to think about your strategic plan, craft a strategy. You will start to put together what you believe your product vision to be in a documented format that helps you to capture all of the nuances and things that we've talked about today. The problem we're solving, the user persona, who we believe our user to be, what we think our opportunity is, what we think our total addressable market actually is, and then even more so, a long shot around how we think we might be able to capture that opportunity. But we're also going to want to think about success metrics. So success metrics are basically just that. They are metrics that help you to evaluate what you consider success to be. So one of the things that I could think of with this idea, and David, I'm sorry, I didn't ask this before. David, does this have a name?
Calling it Busy Meet right now?
You said Busy Meet?
Busy.
Busy Meet.
Busy, B-I-Z-I.
Okay.
Meet.
Got it. So one of the things that we can think about for Busy Meet is success metrics. So David, have you thought about success metrics already?
Revenue.
Of course.
And
However,
users. And
okay.
users.
Yes, I was going to get us to that part. The revenue will come. It's going to come, but it won't come right today. So when we think about what our success metrics could be, for David, it could be how many people actually got matched, right? How many people ended up in the same place and were willing to meet each other? We're always going to think about users, right? The total number of people that are willing to say, hey, I have travel plans and I'm going here. And that's how you start to think about how many users you want to get, and you're able to start tracking, once things are built, how many users you actually get. So with our success metrics, what we'll also start to get into is, all right, now that we know the type of success we want, and the success metrics are a guideline. You don't have to set it in stone right at the very beginning. It is something that you can be a little bit more fluid on. Once we understand how we want to build things, what our end solution should look like, because it's solving a problem, what we also then want to do is start to figure out what the MVP should be. Or prototype, but it depends on where we're at, what we're trying to do. Prototype is just like, wireframe sort of stuff, mock-ups that don't really cost too much, but gets it in the hands of people, but it might not be it won't be fully functional, versus an MVP is something that's a bit more functional. So can anyone tell me what an MVP is?
Minimum viable product.
All right, and minimum viable product,
Felton Brown, minimum viable product.
and what does it mean? Like, how would you explain minimum viable product?
It's the, I would say, so your entire product will be robust, like a complete full version,
Mhm.
but the MVP will be just enough to get it running so people can see how it works.
Yes. Exactly. And I'm sorry, what did you say your name was?
Felton.
Okay, Felton. All right, Felton, thank you for that. So yes, minimum viable product is literally just that. It's the minimum, most critical features you need in order to get something off the ground to put in front of your users and have them understand what it is you're trying to build and hopefully solve their actual problem. So knowing all of that and the things that we've discussed so far, what do we think a MVP would be for VisiMe, was it?
Yep.
VisiMe. What do we think an MVP would be for VisiMe? What sort of features?
I would say something like a community kind of app, like instead of spending the money to get development, do something like a circle kind of vibe. Because like, you can create a community where people can like, kind of opt in and say, okay, I'm going here, and you can create profiles and like I'm here in Mexico for these days and those kind of things. So like there's already some platforms that create communities, right? So we'll probably do that, right?
Okay.
Versus, you know,
And so stick with that. So I'm here. What sort of questions would you ask in the user profile?
User profile is, I would ask, you know, I guess it kind of goes into like, just because I'm on the platform and I'm going to this place doesn't mean I actually want to beat up another person that's on the platform. There has to be some kind of commonality, right? Because you don't want to meet random people. There has to be a reason why you want to get to meet the person, right? So you probably want to have some kind of like tags, right? Like a way that, okay, if you're like both in tech or both in music or both in art, right? So you have some kind of commonalities to have them match, right? So we want to meet up, we have some like something to talk about. Music interests, like if people are going to this concert or this festival by themselves, right? So like those kind of things. Like probably interests and stuff like that.
I like that. Thank you, Justin. So yeah, you want to put together a profile. You want to collect some information from anyone that wants to use this service. You can start with a name, but then you got to get into like actual interests. So you know, what are they coming there to do and what sort of activities might they want to actually do with the people that are near them so that they feel comfortable meeting up. If someone's going to a concert that's like EDM, but the other people that are in the area aren't necessarily EDM enthusiasts, the two people may not actually meet up because they don't share the same interests. So that's a really good one. So thank you, Justin. Any other features that one person, yeah?
So before I start a company, I always do like 2 tests. One of them I call is the $20 test, and then the other is either 100 or 200. And basically it's like, how can I test the concept for that much money or less? And it kind of forces me to like basically get out of this zone of like overthinking the end product. So if I were you, like phase 1 MVP, because I think MVPs can be built in phases, and I know we'll talk about that. So I think like your first MVP is literally just like a Facebook group and a Stripe account, and like see how many people you can get to pay to be in that group, and then later use that revenue or whatever to scale and grow to like, you know, a website, and then from website to Instagram. I mean, from those two to like, you know, PWA or a mobile app. So that's what I would do.
And thank you, Ariana. So we're getting a lot of good ideas for what you can consider application. We talked about interests. How long are they going to actually be there? So you want to be able to like capture that sort of information in whatever form of MVP you have. Is like, is this time overlapping with other people that are going to be there at the same time as well? So there is a little bit of data collection that you can do with these users so that you're able to do the right sort of matching and ultimately get people connected with contact information as well. So you're going to need to know their contact information. You're going to want to ask them like, how would you like to connect? Are you comfortable exchanging phone numbers so that people can WhatsApp you or email? It's whatever people actually have comfort with. And so I think ultimately, when we're thinking about VisiMe, There are a number of things that we've talked about so far, but typically if you were to get beyond the sort of like stage where we're at today, and you were trying to build an actual technical solution, let's say, this would be a bit later on, you would actually start to possibly employ some engineers to build out the app that you were mentioning earlier. And again, this is a bit further along, and so with that, you might want to start to write requirements. Does anyone know what requirements are? What are requirements?
It's basically the functions that you need that are required for your app to work properly, right? So it's like if the person that creates a profile needs to be labeled in like a traveler versus hotel, right? You need to write out those requirements. So it's like every single part of the app or every single part of the platform, in order for the developers, if you're a non-technical founder, right? If you're not building it yourself, you need to define everything that you need done.
Exactly. So when you're writing requirements, it is very much a line-by-line definition of the user behavior, the things that you actually, like the way you actually need things to work in order for things to get together and people to actually be matched. But in David's case, since we're not necessarily building a full-on technical solution, David might be able to write down a number of different steps, manually, like manual steps that he would have to do in order to match people, because there's no technology yet running behind the scenes to help him do the matching. So all of the matching is going to be manual. So what would David do? He might write down specifically, first I have to make sure I have somewhere where people can say, hey, this is where I'm going to on these sort of dates. Then he would have his own process of, okay, now that I understand interests, who's going to be there at the same time? But then ultimately, what you're going to want to do, David, is figure out how you're going to communicate how people get matched. And so if you were building an engineering technical solution of some sort, you'd be writing out every bit of those requirements saying, in order to match people, find people that have overlapping dates and an overlapping location and the same interests, and then figure out how you'd actually want to introduce them to each other. So I'm not getting into all the full spectrum of like writing requirements and how you're going to actually do it, but that's one of the main things that becomes really, really helpful to product owners when they are thinking about what they want to do and how to create a process, especially if they are doing a lot of manual work until they figure out what a technical solution should be down the road, where they can start to think about those steps in chronological order of all the things someone like David is going to have to do to ensure that the service that he provides actually comes to fruition and is able to match whomever the users are when they're in the same location and want to meet and build community there. And so I know I don't have too much time. Oh yeah.
So I see that you have like at the end of launch, collect the user feedback. Oh, sorry. I see that you have collector user feedback at the end. When you're writing requirements and looking at some of the requirements, would you survey potential users then to get some of those requirements, or would you wait until the launch?
So I would actually do the surveying in the define section, where I'm understanding user pain points, I'm validating the problem, and I'm having those early customer research calls. And sometimes it's surveys, other times it could be like actual like research forums where you have a group of potential users that get together and start to share more around what it is they're looking for and why it's such a problem. And so I think the thing about this life cycle of building a product is that it is like, it kind of constantly goes in a bit of a circle. We spent a lot of time in the very earliest part of this entire life cycle talking more about the actual idea itself and then defining what that was, coming up with different solutions that David could use for BusyMeet, and then also getting into what it would look like to create a strategy and a plan. But when you work through all of these different sections, you finally get to that point where you have something you want to launch out to the public, and one of the first things that you want to do is track those success metrics. We talked about users, right? We want to know how many people are actually using the app and willing to give their data around where they're traveling to and when. But then you also want to track the other success metric. How many people have we successfully matched? And so when you're doing that, once you've successfully matched people, and I guess I would say this to you, David, what you're going to want to do is hopefully get back in front of those people and talk to them about what the experience was like. Are there things that they'd like to see happen that didn't necessarily occur in this initial MVP experience? Because ultimately what you're doing is you are collecting all of this research to then go back and kind of repeat the cycle again to then think about for the future, for that next phase of like MVP, we'll call it MVP 2, what should I now be incorporating into this product to make it even better, an even better experience, and continue to meet the needs of the users of VisiNeat.
Thank you.
Of course. All right, so I know we are at time. If you can go to the next slide, please. Thank you. I know we're at time, so I just want to say thank you. This is a lot of fun.
Thank you.
I hope you guys had some fun with me. And thank you so much to David for putting the hand up and being giving us a great example of something that everyone can relate to. As David mentioned, he has a meetup at Tacombe. I mean, I'm just saying, like, you know, help David, right? Validate the problem that he's trying to solve. If you are a solo traveler, pull up on his meetups and, you know, give him some ideas, some additional feedback to help him validate his problem. Ultimately, when you are thinking about the ideas that you want to bring to fruition, when you're thinking about the problems that you actually want to solve, you absolutely should be talking to your community and kind of do community building the same way that we did today, where you're talking to them, you're telling them the ideas you have, you're trying to find more pain points that you may have overlooked, because when you're building a product, one of the best things you can do is involve other people, because then you know that you're building for more users. So thank you again. I just wanted to say one last thing. Thank you so much to the Source and the great work that Anna is doing. Thank you for having me. And you can connect with me on LinkedIn if you are in the earliest stages of trying to figure out what to build and how. I run a workshop once a month with 10 founders in a group coaching session. And we run through product management fundamentals, a bit similar to what I did earlier today. So yeah, that's online as well at JaimailAHolder.com. Thank you guys so much. I had a lot of fun. I hope you did too. Let's go.
Let me thank you for getting rid of off the stage. She is actually one of our selection committee members for Startup World Cup, the $1 million pledge competition. She just spent the entire Saturday going over 100 applications to select the top 60 startups and came out today as well. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to hold you guys for too much longer. I just want to give you a bunch of updates, quick updates about what is coming up. The first thing I stress deeply, guys, and it's not because we bombard you, is to join our WhatsApp. The reason for that is because today's lecture is going to be live on YouTube, and I'm going to drop the link on WhatsApp. So if you want to go back and hear all the amazing knowledge of nuggets that she just dropped, I know some of us were taking notes, you can do that, but the only way you're going to get that is if we're in the WhatsApp, because that's where the link is going to be dropped. Second thing is, so that QR code is going to be up there. Also in the WhatsApp, we are constantly posting jobs. If anyone's looking to transition or is looking for a job, we are constantly posting links there. And we also have a database of resumes that we're continuously working to fulfill those positions between the recruiters and the those looking for a job, a career. Well, I'm like, it's so long, guys. But you get the gist. So join our WhatsApp. The other thing I do want to mention is next week we're here. We are talking all about tech knowledge, our tech sales cohort. We're going to have a panel of alumni, and the teacher that teaches the tech sales cohorts will also be here leading that panel. So if you guys want to learn more about what tech knowledge is, how our nonprofit helps you get into tech overall, next week is a great panel to join. And am I missing anything else, Stefan? No? Okay, and if there's any questions, you can reach out to myself or Stefan back there. He's head of growth. If I owe any one of you anything, because I probably might, please come up to me and let me know. And two other things. Brittany right here, she's our Tech Tuesdays ambassador. Brittany is really gathering, come over here. So Brittany's gonna be in that corner, really gathering testimonials. As you guys can see, this community is different from other networking that we have here. And the way that we continue to grow and provide value to y'all is if you help us spread that word. So if you're willing to give a testimonial, some of you might not feel comfortable on camera, that's fine. Give it to me in person, give it to one of our staff about how we can continue to improve this, and bring a friend next time. Help us spread the word. If you know someone that could be an amazing speaker here, let me know, please. Like, we are open to growing this more, that is the goal here, but we need your help as much as possible, okay? So please let us know and reach out to Brittany if she has great testimonies. Thank you. Have a great night, guys.